Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Yaji, like yay, G. And my channel is all about saving money while traveling because let's be real, traveling can get really expensive. So if you don't have to spend any money, why would you, right? And if that sounds interesting to you, let's be internet besties and consider subscribing below. And let's get into today's video. And today I wanted to talk about my second favorite hotel chain out there, and that is Hyatt. My first is actually Marriott, and I did a whole review about Marriott. So if you're interested, I'll link that video up above so you guys can go check it out. But Hyatt comes close to Marriott, but it is second place just by a little bit, and I'll tell you the reason why at the end of the video. But before we get into the credit cards of Hyatt, I wanted to talk about like Hyatt membership and how points and their statuses will work. And those statuses are a regular member, discoverist, and then explorist, and then globalist. Now the globalist is like the most sought after, and I feel like all the other statuses don't give you as much as the globalist status, and so everyone is trying to achieve the globalist status when you like become a Hyatt loyalist. And as a Hyatt member, which I assume that you're a Hyatt member if you're watching this video, or you should become a Hyatt member before you get the credit card because your whole point is to stay at Hyatt hotels, right? So you need to become a member to earn those points, especially with the credit cards. But anyways, all Hyatt members get points from staying at Hyatt properties as well as points on putting spend on the Hyatt credit cards. As a regular member, you would get a free night award after staying at 5 different Hyatt brands. As a discoverist, you'd get extra 10% bonus points on qualifying purchases. You'd get a bottle of water, you get 2 p.m. late checkout, and they talk about Wi-Fi and stuff like that, but Wi-Fi is kind of given in my opinion. I don't understand when hotels include that in their statuses because it's like, come on, it's 2026. Really? As an explorist, you would get 20% bonus points on qualifying purchases. You'd get access upgraded rooms on qualifying nights based on availability, and you also get 2 p.m. late checkout. As a globalist, you would get 30% bonus points on qualifying purchases. You'd get room upgrades to suites. You'd get access to the lounge, or you'd get breakfast, and you'd enjoy 4 p.m. late checkout. So Hyatt not only has requirements of like how many nights you need to stay to hit those statuses, but they also have something called base points. Base points are basically Hyatt's way of telling you what the points are when you put the spend on their credit cards. So if you put enough spend on the credit cards, then you could technically jump up the status chain with Hyatt without even having to stay at Hyatt branded hotels, which is good or bad. So if you do have a lot of spend, then that would be amazing, right? Because you don't technically need to stay at any Hyatt properties. You could literally just put spend on the credit cards and climb up the chain. And Hyatt actually prefers that because they want people to put spend on their credit cards. Now, everyone can become a member. You don't need to have any free nights. As long as you join the Hyatt loyalty program, you will automatically become a member. If you spend 10 nights, you'll get discovery status, or you need 25,000 base points. You need to stay 30 nights for explorer status or have 50,000 base points. And in order to hit globalist, you need 60 nights or you need to have 100,000 base points. Hyatt also has something called lifetime globalist, where if you hit 1,000,000 base points, it'll automatically give you like lifetime globalist, which means that like 1 year you don't hit globalist status, it doesn't matter because you're a lifetime member and that status will never go away essentially. And the nice thing about Hyatt is that they award you along the way when you hit either like nights or base points. So for instance, when you hit 20 nights or 35,000 base points, you get either 2,000 bonus points on your next stay, or you get 2 club access awards, which depending on the brand, the lounge can have continental breakfast or evening like snacks, or you get $25 on Find Experience credit, which is basically like a travel credit under Hyatt, where you can experience different like tourist activities that's unique to that location, or you get 2 preferred seat coupons on American Airlines. If you hit 30 nights or 50,000 base points, you receive a free night category that is within the category of 1 to 4 depending on the brand, and you get the same choice as the 20 nights where it's like awards or like the $25 experience credit or the lounge access credit. If you hit 40 nights or 65 base points, you can give someone or yourself a globalist status experience for 7 nights. So you kind of get a feel for what globalist status is, and you get 5,000 bonus points. You get a suite night upgrade, you get 150,000 Find Experience credit, and you get 2 main cabin extra seat coupons on American Airlines. And if you hit 50 nights a year or 80,000 bonus points, you'd get the same thing. You would receive at 40 nights with the 5,000 bonus points and the 2 suite night upgrades, the $150 fine experience credit, and American Airlines like extra cabin coupons basically. And so if you scroll through the website, which is like 60 nights, and you also get more 70, 80 nights and 100 nights, like you keep going like that, and Hyatt rewards you for staying with the brand, which I think is very unique to Hyatt because other brands don't do that. There's no incentive to like put more spend on it after you become like top tier, because it's like they don't give you anything. And like Hyatt actually gives you things along the way. So even if you're not a globalist status yet, they award you for hitting like 20 nights, 30 nights, 40 nights, you know, they give you awards on the different milestones, which I really appreciate. As the recording of this video, which is early 2026, Hyatt currently has 2 credit cards. They have one personal and one business, and they're both issued by Chase. There are rumors that Hyatt's gonna come out with like a premium card this year, but that hasn't been confirmed and it's not out yet, so I don't want to talk about it because a lot of times it's just like predictions, right? You're not really sure if that's actually going to happen or not. The card probably will happen, but we don't know the details of like the multipliers or how expensive the annual fee is going to be and stuff like that. So whenever the card launches, then I'll like talk about that separately. But as of now, there's only 2 cards. And regarding the welcome bonus, I don't talk about welcome bonuses because they always change. And by the time like you watch the video, it might be different from the welcome bonus that's being currently offered. So we're just going to skip that. And whenever you apply, you should probably get the welcome bonus and hit the minimum, right, to get that welcome bonus. But anyway, the personal card is a $95 annual fee card. And with this card, you get 4 points on every dollar you spend on Hyatt hotels, and you get up to 5 base points per dollar you spend from being a Hyatt member. It also gives you 2 points per dollar spent at restaurants, airline tickets purchased directly from the airline, local transit and commuting, as well as fitness clubs and gym memberships. And you get an additional 1 bonus point per dollar spent on all your other purchases. And as long as you have the card, your points don't expire. And with this card, you get a free anniversary night within any category 1 to 4 Hyatt hotel. And you get an additional free night when you spend $15,000 in a calendar year. Some additional benefits is that you also get Hyatt Discoverist status with this card. You get 5 qualifying night credits every year, and you get additional 2 qualifying night credits every time you spend $5,000 on this card. And that's really nice for Hyatt for giving like 5 additional nights just having the card, because if you only hit globalist, then that's 60 nights. So with this card, you'd only need to stay 55 nights to hit globalist status. And it's also nice that they give you 2 extra nights every $5,000 you spend. So this technically means that Hyatt will give you qualifying nights just putting spend on the card. So you don't necessarily need to be staying at Hyatt hotels. You could literally just spend money on your credit card and get a globalist status. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, because if you solely put spend on it and not actually stay in any Hyatt properties, you'd be needing to spend $140,000 on this card to be a globalist member. So that's a lot of money just to be spending on Hyatt and trying to achieve that globalist status. I mean, having globalist is nice, but honestly, if you're gonna spend that much money, like think of all the welcome bonuses you can earn on different credit cards. So if that spend doesn't have any category, even spending that on, let's say like the City Double Cash or like the Capital One Venture X that gives you 2x, I feel like that's more valuable than putting it on a Hyatt card, but that's just my opinion. Obviously, if your spend has other items in there that can give you higher multipliers, such as like flights or groceries or dining even, then I think you're better off to put that spend on other Chase cards like the Sapphire Reserve or Preferred or even Freedom Flex or Unlimited even, than to put on the Hyatt spend. Because remember, you can transfer points over from Chase to Hyatt, and Chase is the only transfer partner of Hyatt. So Chase has already base cards that give you more multipliers than the actual Hyatt card. And this is me saying this if you're not chasing, you know, the globalist tier status, but if you are chasing globalist tier, then $140,000 is a lot of money. I mean, with that $140,000 spend, you'd get an additional free night award that is like category 1 through 4. But I mean, that's only one, right? For spending 15K. They're not going to give you another one for spending another 15K, you know? So you only get one. So I'm like, oh yeah, that is a lot of spend. Now, the World of Hyatt business card has an annual fee of $199, and it gives you 4 bonus points for every dollar you spend on Hyatt hotels. Additionally, it gives you 5 base points for spending every dollar for being a World of Hyatt member. So that ends up being 9 points total for every dollar spent on Hyatt hotels. You also get 2 bonus points for every dollar you spend on your top 3 categories, and those categories are dining, shipping, airline tickets when purchased directly with the airline, local transit and commuting, social media and search engine advertising, car rental agencies, gas stations, internet cable, and phone services. And you get 2 bonus points for every dollar you spent on fitness clubs and gym memberships, and you get 1 bonus point for all other purchases. Similar to the personal card, this card also gives you discovery status for having the card, and you can gift 5 people, like your employees, the discoverist status, and it gives you 5 tier qualifying night credits towards status and milestone rewards for every $10,000 you spend. The business card also gives you $100 in Hyatt statement credits, so you'd get $50 credits 2 times a year, and you'd also get 10% back on redemption bonuses. So if you spend 50K in a calendar year, you get 10% of your redeem points back for the rest of the year, and the redemption is capped at 200,000 points redeemed. So on the personal card, they'll give you 2 qualifying nights for every 5,000 spent. On the business card, they'll give you 5 qualifying nights for every $10,000 spent. So if you do the math and you just want to put spend on your card without actually staying at higher properties, then it would be a little bit cheaper with the business card, and you'd have to spend $120,000 instead of the $140,000 like the personal card. In my opinion, neither of the cards give you a strong multiplier to actually like motivate you to put spend on it, unless of course you're like going all out for Hyatt and Hyatt is the only thing that you care about and you want to achieve that globalist status. But I think it's better to put spend on other Chase cards because they have like higher multipliers, and then transfer those points over to Hyatt and accumulate Hyatt points that way instead of actually putting spend on Hyatt cards. The only people that are actually putting spend on the card are, you know, chasing globalist status, and they also know that they're not staying at a lot of Hyatt properties, so it's easier for them just to put spend on it, and they're okay with that. And I'm sure there are people out there like that, especially if you own a business and you do have a lot of spend, then the business card makes sense. In my opinion, Hyatt really like put a lot of thought into this business card to make sure that people that get this card and get benefits from this card are high spenders, you know? The sweet spot, honestly, is like having both cards. Like having both the business and the personal, and then also staying at Hyatt properties to kind of like balance each other out to get the globalist status, versus like just putting all the spend in business card or all the spend in the personal card. Because the personal card, after like the 15K that you would initially spend to get the free night, right? After that, there really is no incentive to put more spend on the personal card. Whereas the business card, because you would get 5 qualifying nights for every 10,000, so it's a little bit less than the personal card, you know, that kind of motivates people to put spend on the business card. But obviously you wouldn't be spending all your money on the business card. You would assume that you kind of stay at Hyatt properties to kind of like balance each other out. So let's say that you stay at Hyatt properties like 20 nights a year and you need like 40 nights extra to get the globalist status. Well, if you have both of these cards, then you'd put the 15K spend on the personal side, because like I said, you don't really get a lot of benefits outside of the 15K that you would put on the personal card, and then the rest of the amount you would put it on the business card. So essentially, if you do the math, then you'd only need to be spending 60K on the business card to be hitting the 60 nights like globalist status. Because remember, the personal card, it comes with 5 elite night credits, plus because you're spending 15K, you'd get additional 6 nights, so that end up being 11 nights. So you combine that with the 20 nights that you spend like organically throughout the year, that will put you at globalist status. But then the total amount of money that you'd be spending both on the personal and the business would be like 75K, which still is a lot of money in my opinion. But this way, you don't have to be spending like 120 or 140K because you're paying for the annual fees to have these 2 cards with you. So the business card gives you $100 statement credit back, right? Twice a year in like $50 increments, right? So then technically having 2 cards, the annual fee will be $194 instead of like $294 if you didn't consider the statement credits. So you got to think, with the annual fee lowered and the cards being $194 annual fee effectively, are those two cards worth it for you? Do you have that much spend that you are able to justify holding the business card? Because personally, I feel like the personal card is enough for most people, like because of the free night certificate that it gives you. And if you hit another 15K, it gives you a second free night certificate, right? Essentially. So you get two of those, and you're kind of able to manufacture the nights, right, for every $5,000 you spend. And most people, average people, do spend time at Hyatt hotels, right? So you're kind of balancing your stays and your spend to kind of hit that globalist status. So I think personally, if you don't have a lot of spend, then the business card is kind of like useless. And I'm saying this from experience. And yes, we do have the business card, but just having it for a couple years now, and I'm thinking, looking back, I don't feel like I can justify the annual fee because we don't put that much spend on it. At the time, it was because we did put a lot of spend on it and we needed to for personal reasons. And it made sense at the time when we opened the card. But now I'm like, I don't travel as much to Hyatt hotels versus like Marriott. And I mentioned this in the beginning of the video, and Marriott is my favorite hotel chain, because even though they're like expensive in terms of like how many points you need to like stay at a Marriott property compared to like Hyatt properties, right? Hyatt properties, essentially like earning points and redeeming them, it's not as expensive as Marriott. But Hyatt has less properties around the world compared to Marriott, and Marriott, literally like anywhere in the world that you go, you'll find a Marriott property. But the most important thing for me that kind of tipped me over to Marriott is because when you have 3 people or 4 people in a room, it's a lot easier to redeem points and like rooms with Marriott compared to Hyatt. And I say this because Hyatt makes it really difficult to find rooms where you're redeeming points, not paying cash, when you're redeeming points to have a room where 3 people are allowed in the room. So unless you're booking a suite, it's like virtually impossible to find and book like rooms with points, in my opinion. Whereas if you book with like 2 people, super easy. They're like everywhere. But when you hit that 3 people, 4 people, like they just don't have properties that can hold 3+ people in a room, which like annoys me, because now having my daughter and we travel as a family instead of just my husband and I. And yes, I know people might think, oh, if you have globalist status, Sweet Night Awards, technically like you could spend that anywhere 7 times a year, essentially, right? Because with Hyatt Sweet Night Awards, it's not per night Sweet Night Awards, it's like per stay. So technically, let's say you're staying at a Hyatt property for a week, that would be considered 1 stay. So every stay, if you travel less than 7 times a year, then you could technically get upgraded. But the thing is, not every hotel will upgrade you to a suite, and because that depends on the availability at the time of the hotel. So when you book with 3 people, you still have to book a room that accommodates 3 people or 4 people. You can't just book a room with 2 people and hope that you're gonna get upgraded to a suite when you get there. Like, imagine if you're not. And the thing is, Europe is very strict. And it's not like the US where you have children and they can just kind of sleep in the bed with you. No, like Europe is very strict about it. And so if you have 3 people, you need to book a room that is accommodating for 3 people and not 2 people when you check in. And when I travel and when I vacation using points, I want to stay at nicer-ish properties, the nicer the better, to get value for my points. So when you especially try to book like nicer hotels, like let's say like Park Hyatt, Vendôme in Paris, or even in Tokyo, or any other like city around the world that you want to travel to, well, it's like really, really hard. And that's kind of the reasons why I decided to go with Marriott instead of Hyatt once we had a family, because it's a lot easier to find rooms and nicer properties with Marriott than with Hyatt. And yes, with lower tier Hyatt properties, it's easier to find rooms that accommodate like 3+ people. But like I said, when I vacation, I want to go to nicer places, because it's like you spend all that money, it's like your hard-earned cash, and that you used it on credit cards to basically get a vacation out of it. You want to go to nice places. So if I'm not spending these points on nice places, I feel like I'm not getting the full value out of it, because you're trying to beat the system of like what the points are worth and how much you can get out of those points, right? Anyway, that's a different topic. But because I do go after nicer properties, it's just harder to find properties that will accommodate like 3-4 people in a room. And it's especially difficult to book like nice luxury boutiques, you know, because Hyatt has a partnership with Mr. and Mrs. Smith properties. It's especially difficult, like almost impossible to book those properties if you want to have like 3+ people in a room. Like you're already struggling to find availability with 2+ people, like 3+, it's like unheard of. So pretty much me, all of this rambling is to say that yes, if you're like a young couple or there's 2 of you traveling, like yes, Hyatt properties are great. But if you have like a family, then Marriott is like so much better when it comes to booking nicer hotels. And as much as I like Hyatt, and I still do like Hyatt, it's not that I don't like Hyatt. Their properties worldwide are really nice, like their Park Hyatt hotels, even Grand Hyatt hotels are like really nice. And I feel like some hotels are more modern than Marriott properties around the world if I'm just comparing like the luxury hotels, right? And I like the fact that they're cheaper in terms of points that you need to book these rooms. Like I said, if you're spending $1 for $1, like, you know, the more multipliers you get on Chase cards, you can transfer over and you can kind of use less like Chase points essentially to book these Hyatt hotels, right? Compared to if you're trying to transfer over Chase points to Marriott, then you're gonna need a lot more Chase points because Marriott costs in terms of like points a lot more, if that makes sense. And so for that reason, I am Team Marriott, but Hyatt still has a special place. And if you're traveling, you know, with 2 people, then I think Hyatt is still great. It's just currently with the style of travel that we do now, because I have a family and I have to travel with multiple people, it just doesn't fit my lifestyle anymore. But I like the fact that Hyatt motivates you to spend more on their cards, and also like the more nights you stay at Hyatt, they reward you, you know, each time you hit a milestone, and I really like that. Whereas other hotel brands like Marriott, they don't have any of that. But I think it makes sense to like kind of like reward and incentivize them to be spending more on their credit cards or to stay more at Hyatt properties, because it's always a nice feeling for consumers when they're given something, you know, like, hey, thank you for staying with us, or thank you for hitting this milestone, you know, it just makes you feel nice. And I know why I also did that is because they also have a smaller portfolio than other brands, and so they kind of have to like shine somewhere, right? Because they got to compete with all these other hotel brands. So it makes sense why Hyatt did that, and I do feel like Hyatt has better customer service than other brands, like other chain brands out there. But anyway, that was my review of Hyatt and what I think about Hyatt credit cards and Hyatt hotels in general. I hope this video gave you some insight into Hyatt, and I'm actually curious, are you like me and do you struggle to find award nights with like 3 people in a room and 4 people in a room if you're a family? Like, how is that working out for everyone, or is it just me where I can't seem to find any rooms anywhere that I want to go in the world? So if you found a little hack to like get around that system, then please let me know. Share it in the comment sections so all of us can like help each other out, you know? And on that note, if you found this video helpful and informative, please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe below, and I'll see you guys next time with a different video. Bye!